This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama, everywhere you're watching the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. I hope you're having a beautiful Tuesday. Of course, this is the Joe Gaither Show. You're listening to us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. You're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. You can find us at Joe Gaither6 on all your social media machines and at BamaCentral on the YouTube channel or BamaCentral.com on your World Wide Web. Thanks so much for everybody who's watching us, who's subscribed, rating, and reviewing the show, and who's also participating and downloading Blue Collar Unplugged, our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcast with Blake Byler, Jacob Pickle, and Matthew Gibson. Our guys, Blue Collar Unplugged, are going to have a huge week ahead with College Game Day coming to town, and obviously it's a big basketball week. Okay, so what are we going to do on this Tuesday? First off, full disclosure, I got a bunch of notes, but they are all over the place. The ADHD has been going crazy today. It's been a hard track to focus everything in. So I appreciate everybody who's joining us on the comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube at Joe Gaither6, or who's just putting up with all our nonsense here at BamaCentral.com. What I want to do is I want to talk about the NFL Combine and how it relates to the Alabama players who are participating up there in Indianapolis. I also want to talk about Alan Flanigan and the SEC not suspending him for tomorrow night's game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. I want to talk a little bit. I want to go back to the Cam Newton fight yesterday. I feel like we left a fun conversation on the table there by just barely mentioning the Cam Newton fight. We want to kind of say who in the NFL would you maybe not want to fight, or would you want to fight as quarterback-wise? There are 4 former Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL. Would you want to fight any of them or none of them? We can talk about that as well. And then, look, Joe Lunardi put out new bracketology. Alabama still at 3. I went through the Memphis pod that Alabama is put into, the regional, and obviously it's just projection, but we looked at the opponents and we're going to decide if Alabama can get to the Sweet 16 or not. All right, let's start with the NFL draft and the NFL Combine. Okay, in Indianapolis this week, you can follow it on BamaCentral.com, on MizzouCentral.com, and CowbellCorner.com. You can be following the NFL Combine up in Indianapolis. Okay, it started really yesterday. The drills get going on Thursday. Lots of interviews happen tomorrow, medical checks, everything that happens in Indianapolis. It's a huge job interview. From the Alabama perspective, you got Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, Justin Aboigbe, Jalen Key, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, Jermaine Burton, Jace McClellan, and J.C. Latham, all taking part in the Combine, are all going to Indianapolis, at least to participate and show their faces. Look, here's the thing on the Combine. It doesn't help or hurt. It's not going to help your draft stock at all. It's not going to help your draft stock at all. You go to the NFL Combine, and you're all familiar with the drills: the bench press, the 3-cone shuffle, the 40-yard dash. Just depends on whatever drill specifics, position-specific drills that they have. If you're quarterback, you're throwing. If you're a receiver, you're running routes. This, that, and the other. But it doesn't help at all. Think about it. Come on. Can you throw out anybody that has gone to the Combine as a later round pick and improved so much or impressed so much that they became a mid-round pick or went from the mid-rounds to the first round? The only thing the NFL Combine can do is hurt your draft stock. Why? You hurt your draft stock by getting a bad medical check. You can be like our friend Reuben Foster a couple of years ago and get thrown out of the Combine because maybe some behavioral issues, but it was the medical check that in the place where he had his controversy. They want to find out who's had knee surgeries, whose knees are going to last another 10 years, whose hips are going to last. What about shoulders? These, ballpoint joints are not, not as straightforward. So the medicals are very, very important. They can hurt your draft stock. You can also hurt your draft stock by getting onto the bench press and putting up a 5, or getting on the 40-yard dash line and putting up a 5.2. There is no point in participating in the combine past the medical checks and the interviews. None at all. You go and you say, oh, I'm a quarterback. You look at Caleb Williams, you look at Drake May, you look at some of these top-end quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels. Look, you got 12 games of film to watch them, to see if they can make the throws, to see if they can make the reads. Who is evaluating or putting weight on these quarterbacks' performances in Indianapolis in scripted passing drills when you're passing, in t-shirt and underwear, and there's no pass rush on you? You're throwing to unfamiliar wide receivers who you just met 2 or 3 days ago. Like, there's no value to it. There's no value to being Chris Braswell and doing the three-cone drill. Now, a lot of these Alabama guys will participate in the drills. You're not seeing a lot of Alabama players opting out of the drills yet. We'll see. We'll follow it. But, what's the value in Terrion Arnold running the 40-yard dash? You can put the film on and see that he keeps up with every SEC receiver that he was lined up against this past year. And so what's the value? Who cares if Kool-Aid McKinstry runs a 4.4 or runs a 4.8? We know what he's done on film for the last 3 years. You go to our friend Dr. Matt Ray, who is a former Alabama performance and strength and conditioning coach, and he basically outlines that it's pointless to go to the combine and do these drills. Why? Because you have catapult data. Look, the analytics, you can measure. You can go right now and put the film on it and basically measure who's the fastest because of the catapult system at practice. But in the game film, you look at NFL analytics, NFL Next Gen, the Next Gen stats. That's what it is. They basically have all these guys chipped up, and so when Amari Cooper runs down the sidelines and hits 18 miles an hour, they can put that on. They can figure that out in game action, in live game action. Not in the drills, not in underwear, not in t-shirts. And so what's the point of going there? The point is the NFL uses the combine. The NFL uses the combine as a kind of as a power play, as a ploy. Look, you're about to get in, not necessarily as not a hazing ritual. I don't want to say that, but it is almost like a fraternity type. You need to see how you do at the combine. They put them through the ringer. They give the interviews. They ask him all kinds of inappropriate questions. You remember Des Bryant? They asked Des Bryant how he felt about his mother being the lady of the night, and that's inappropriate. You get asked the random questions. Oh, if you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be? Because they're trying to look inside the minds of these guys before they pay them millions and millions of dollars. It's kind of a power play to where they know you have to come to the combine if you want to get into the league, if you want to get drafted. Now, you don't have to. Guys have opted out of the combine, or guys have just gone. Look, the prospects who are getting drafted in the first round, in the second round, and the third round, they don't really need to be there. The only thing you can do is hurt your draft stock. Look, you see how valuable it is when you look at several of the NFL coaches who aren't even showing up, because they have the information on the film from their actual college seasons when they're playing real football. Who cares about the underwear Olympics? Now, the NFL also does it secondarily to stay relevant. It's February 27th. You're sitting here 2 months, 3 weeks from the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was a couple weeks ago, and you're sitting there. The draft is what? February, March, April, third week of April. So you've got, 6 weeks until the draft. You've got to capture and keep everyone's attention. The NFL does a magnificent job of being a year-round sport. Everybody always thinks about it as August to February. But with the events like the Senior Bowl a couple of weeks ago and the Combine this week, the NFL maintains we're staying in the news stream. We're staying in front of your face. So, look, we've done this with the Senior Bowl. We'll do this again with the Combine. Who is this most important for? J.C. Latham, Jermaine Burton, Jace McClellan, Jalen Key, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, and Justin Aboigbe. Look, if I was this collection of 10 guys, every circumstance is a little bit different. You see Dallas Turner, you see Kool-Aid and Terrion, and you see J.C. Latham as probably your 4 first-round draft picks. If I'm those guys, I'm showing up and I'm interviewing with the GMs and I'm going home. I'm showing up and I'm saying, okay, if you want to put me on I'll submit to some of the medical checks. Maybe you submit to them all, depending on how they all are, how their health has been since playing at the Capstone. But you basically go to talk to the GMs. You basically go to create a relationship, to put a smiling face in front of the people who are going to be drafting you. We all know there's going to be a pro day after spring practice before the NFL draft. So, like, if these guys do feel a sense of urgency to do drills, why don't they do them after spring practice, a little further down the line, get prepared for them? The biggest thing right now, and the biggest reason the combine is kind of an antiquated system and really probably a more detriment to these prospects than it is a positive to these prospects. Let's take a guy. Look, you all know that I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and we're just going to make this not an Alabama conversation. We're going to take a guy like Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones played at a small college and ended up being a 7th-round draft pick for the Chicago Bears. He went and started all the games his rookie year, and then he had his offseason. Put yourself in these guys' positions. Let's say you are Jalen Key is a good example because Jalen Key is not a first-round draft pick. Jace McClellan might be another good example here. Now, Jace dealing with the stress fracture. Jermaine Burton, probably going to be a higher draft pick than I am anticipating, but he might be a guy that falls into this category. Jalen Key is probably your best one-to-one comparison. Jalen Key is going to be a late-round draft pick at best. So think about yourself. You're Jalen Key. You have played, you transferred from UAB. You got ready for the Alabama season. You played the Alabama season, and now the Alabama season ended, unfortunately, a little early, January 9th. You spent these last 6 weeks preparing for the NFL Combine, getting your trainer to help you with your 40-time start, getting your bench press up, getting these little things, helping your trainer helping you run the 3-cone drill, doing the lateral movements. So you've spent the last 6 weeks preparing for the NFL Combine. He does and has his weekend, Jalen Key. And then, boom, the next 5 weeks, he's preparing for Pro Day. He's preparing for Pro Day, and he's flying around to different, if you're good enough, you're flying around to different organizations doing private workouts. And sometimes those organizations are coming to you doing private workouts. They're putting you through the ringer. And then, boom, you get drafted, and you go right into rookie minicamp. And then you go right into regular camp. And everything is just rookie minicamp, regular camp, NFL season. So a guy like Braxton Jones, a couple of years ago, for the Chicago Bears, he starts his rookie year, he plays all 16 games, and basically he comes out after the season and says, thank God it's the offseason, because I've been playing football for, you get 24 months straight. No offseason, no break here. Is this a point that's like, if you're Jalen Key, are you better served going to the Combine and performing well? Or are you better served taking these 6 weeks between the end of the Alabama season and the Combine to rest and recover? Let's think about Jace McClellan. Jace might be a mid-round NFL draft pick. And Jace is a quality back. Is he going to be a running back one on anybody's team? Unlikely. But I'd say he's probably going to be a 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft pick. And I think he's going to, find himself a role in the NFL. But Jace ended the year with a stress fracture. Would you rather Jace McClellan, if you're an NFL team, bust his tail over the last 6 weeks and the next 6 weeks so that he can, show that he's worthy of a 4th, 5th round draft pick, and then he's on the shelf for the next year. He's on the shelf for his rookie season because his stress fracture never really did heal. We're hoping that's not the case, but you've got to give these guys some time to rest and recover from the season. It's not like they're playing, tiddlywinks. This is a physical sport. And so the Combine becomes a pointless exercise. It becomes basically, the NFL is using it as a benchmark to see how mature these players are. We want to know, are you still in decent shape? Basically, the drills are just kind of there to keep the cattle prod, to keep the cattle prod going on the prospects. You guys better make sure it's an NFL opportunity. But look, you see these guys every year bomb out on the drills and end up doing just fine. Oh my gosh, and don't even get us started on the Wonderlic that gets going and the O2 score, the S2 score that these players take to kind of measure their intellect. we know that it's not a direct correlation. It's 1-to-1. So while the NFL and football so often, and this is going to be a little controversial. The NFL and football, you see it a lot in college football. Oh, it's slavery. You get the team owner, that kind of thing. You hear slavery dynamics thrown out a lot. And I think that's not really always fair, especially when it comes to college athletics. And it's really, really disrespectful to what the slaves endured here in America. But the problem is, like, you throw the combine out there, it does kind of seem like a little bit of a, meat market. We're going to put everybody right through. We're going to see who the fastest is, who the strongest is, who the tallest is. We're going to see who the smartest is, and then we'll make our draft decisions off of that. But most of these general managers, you only use you use the combine time in Indianapolis to get to know guys, make relationships. I don't think anybody's getting dropped off draft boards for running, a bad 40 time. And I don't really think anybody is getting moved up draft boards for running a great 40 time. I think it's fun for fodder. I think it's great for the media. It gives the media a little more chance. It gives me a little more chance to talk about football, because we all know that football is king here in Alabama and really throughout the United States. And so really that's all it is. It's the NFL using the combine to stay in the news and to kind of put its new players through a little bit of a ringer. I mean, it's not hazing, but it's not exactly like a job interview. It's a job interview with some physical requirements. And I guess obviously that's par for the course when you're playing football professionally. But like, it's kind of like a job fair that only certain people get invited to. And then, if you get invited, you've got to do all these weird things. I don't know. Is it fun for me to watch? And will I be watching? Sure, I'll be watching it. But does it matter at all for draft prospects? I don't think so at all. I don't think that if J.C. Latham puts up 30 reps on the bench press, that he's going to be the number one tackle on the board. I'm sorry. Olu Fashanu has probably got that moniker right now. In Fashanu, if he goes to the combine, I haven't looked up the Penn State participants, but if Fashanu goes to the combine and puts up 5 reps on the bench press, really bad, I don't think that that's going to knock him down. Like, I don't think it matters what, between the two guys, J.C. Latham or Olu Fashanu. Look, their numbers could be, J.C. Latham could beat him in every category. I'm sorry, the football film shows me that Olu Fashanu is a better tackle than J.C. Latham. Does that make J.C. bad? No. But I think Fashanu is a blue chip prospect. And so basically, this whole thing is made for TV. This whole thing is made for television to keep the NFL in the news. They want to have a monthly event throughout the 12 months, really throughout the offseason, to stay relevant throughout the year and to steal the spotlight away. So you can follow the combine right there at BamaCentral.com. On Thursday, the players will start the drills, and that's really where I guess the entertainment starts, because we're not really allowed to be in the interviews, and we don't really see the medical reports. On Thursday, the defensive line and the edge rushers are going. Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, and Justin Aboigbe. This will all be on NFL Network. On Friday, the defensive backs will go. Jalen Key, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Terry and Arnold. On Saturday, the skill position guys will go. That'll be Jermaine Burton and Jason McClellan. And on Sunday, the offensive line will go. So that'll be your boy, J.C. Latham. So 10 guys will participate in the NFL Combine this weekend. Look, I think if I'm a prospect, I would go just for the tradition of it. But you got to be smart. You have to be smart about what you participate in. The only thing, when you go up there, the only thing you can do is hurt your draft stock. Hurt your draft stock and create relationships. So let's focus on the creating relationships and less on the hurting our draft stock. Avoid the things that hurt our draft stock. Let's go into the meetings with the general managers and the coaching staffs, and let's say yes, sir. And let's, show how smart you are and what you understand about football, what Nick Saban and the Alabama football program has taught you about football over the last 3 to 4 years. And say yes, sir, and don't say, basically say that you're a good guy, as most of these guys seem to be, and then decide for yourself about these drills, if they're worth doing or not. To me, I think they're not worth doing. I think they might, you get a little more worth doing if you're a fringe prospect, but I still think it's more of a dog and pony show than than a direct correlation to draft status and football ability. I think the tape that you put on film the last 3 months in your college seasons is much more valuable than what you do in your underwear in Indianapolis over the course of 3 hours. All right, let's get this bad boy going today, and we're going to talk about Alan Flanigan. If you don't know who Alan Flanigan is, that is A-OK. He plays basketball for the Ole Miss Rebels. He is a former Auburn Tiger, transferred from Auburn to Ole Miss. And if you're living under a rock, Alabama's heading to Ole Miss on Wednesday. Big game because it's your next game, and it's a big game based on what happened in the last game. But what you want to talk about here and is the inconsistency happening in Birmingham, Alabama, where the SEC League office happens, and right up the road, they often get accused of Bama bias. Let's go back 5 or 6 days. Let's go back about 7 days to last Wednesday night's game, Alabama against the Florida Gators. Our man Muhammad Wagi is battling for a rebound, and basically people's elbow, ground and pound style on one of Florida's forwards. Now, Muhammad Wagi was assessed a flagrant 1 and then was suspended for Saturday's game against Kentucky by the conference office. I don't think that his presence or lack thereof affected the outcome too heavily on Saturday. But still, you're using the example here. Wagi, elbow on Wednesday, suspended on Saturday. Did I think the elbow was that bad? No, not really. But people have come at me and said, Joe, you're just Bama biased there. It was bad. That's what they're saying to me. Oh, Joe, you just defending your guy because, you like him. It was bad. It was worth multiple games. You had a lot of people go out there and say multiple game suspension, suspend him the rest of the year. SEC gives him 1 game, and that's probably fair because I don't know if that was that bad, but, he did elbow the guy. All right, Alan Flanigan on Saturday's game, Ole Miss is playing. Who the heck did they play? Were they playing State Ole Miss basketball? Or they playing Arkansas? They were playing on Saturday, and Alan Flanigan in the middle of the game is coming down the lane on offense and basically just out and out forearm shivers his defender right in the face. They played South Carolina. I'm sorry. And forearm shivers his defender right in the face. And it was like blatant. The offensive play had barely even started. There was not really any scrum happening. I'm sorry. Maybe that is my Bama biased on Muhammad Wagi, but those guys were fighting for a rebound. Those guys were going kind of for a loose ball. Alan Flanigan goes down the lane and basically decides, now's a good time to just elbow right in the face of his South Carolina defender. The SEC, the conference office reviewed it and said no suspension. Look, I'm not really here to talk and say let's suspend everybody because heat of the moment is kind of how I defined or chalked up the Muhammad Wagi elbow. And so we'll say Alan Flanigan was just feeling himself, heat of the moment. It was a competitive spirit overtook him. But come on, my beef is not with Alan Flanigan. No. My beef is with the conference office. This was blatantly on film, just like the Muhammad Wagi incident. And honestly, and this might be my glasses here, but I think that the Alan Flanigan elbow was much more egregious and more violent. Now, the South Carolina player didn't have his head hit against the floor like the Florida player did when Muhammad Wagi rained down the elbow from above, but you still went basically cold-cocked out of nowhere, elbow to the face. And so you say, go back to last week. Muhammad Wagi only suspended 1 game. Look, the conference office giving Bama bias, blah, blah, blah. They're protecting Alabama. And it's like, what a load of hooey. Because if the conference office wanted to protect Alabama, I don't believe in the Bama bias. And maybe that is my glasses. I don't believe in the Bama bias, but I also, on the flip side, you hear it nationally saying, you guys are SEC fatigue, Bama fatigue. You see that a lot when an Alabama player gets left off a list or, somebody doesn't get recognized for an award that people are, ranked lower in the polls than maybe the people in Alabama think they should be. You get, Bama fatigue. I don't think that's true either. I think the conference office just messed up. I think they dropped the ball here. So Alabama's going to go to Ole Miss tomorrow, and you'll see Alan Flanigan, and fine, no big deal. Ole Miss needs all the help that they can get. They really do. And maybe that was at play. Look, I'm not going to, I don't know that, but maybe that was at play when the conference was making its decision. Or was it? Oh, Ole Miss is playing Alabama next at home. If we take Alan Flanigan off their roster, it's going to probably not be a good day for them. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. Muhammad Wagi, was he really that important to the win or loss at Kentucky? No, he wasn't. You look at Alan Flanigan though. Let me pull up his individual stats here. Alan Flanigan for the Ole Miss Rebels, he's started in all 27 games. Unlike Muhammad Wagi, he is 27% from the 3-point line. Not so great, almost 28%. And he is, let's see, scoring points. Boom. He's averaging 15.2 points per game. He's averaging 6.5 rebounds per game. So he's one of the better rebounding guards as well. So you take Alan Flanigan off the floor from an SEC perspective. Do you lose your entertainment value for your Wednesday night game? There surely was not any of that going on in the conversation rooms when deciding if Alan Flanigan was going to get suspended or not. So that's just an aspect of tomorrow night's game. I think the conference office definitely dropped the ball with inconsistencies. Look, if you're going to suspend Wagi, that's fine. No big deal. Then you need to go ahead and suspend Flanigan as well. I think that's very, very important to remain consistent. All right, let's keep it going. We're at 25 minutes, and I want to talk. Yeah. Let's talk fighting some more. And then if we have more time, we'll go into Alabama's pod for its projected pod for the NCAA tournament. Look, here's the deal. Tomorrow we're going to do 3-2-1. And it's going to be a Nick Saban themed 3-2-1. So anybody who is listening for today, listen for that. It's going to happen tomorrow, and tomorrow it's going to be what are the 3 biggest wins not by Alabama in the Saban era that helped Alabama. Obviously, I'm thinking about everything that happened in the 2011 season that helped Alabama get back into the playoff or get back into the BCS picture. I'm thinking about everything that happened in the 2015 season, that 4th down conversion from Arkansas. What are the 3 biggest outside of Alabama games, Alabama wins, 3 biggest results that helped the Alabama dynasty? Number 2 for tomorrow is going to be, what are the 2 most important losses in the Alabama dynasty? And then obviously number 1, well, maybe not obviously, but number 1, we're going to say who is the 1 best player in the Saban dynasty. You got 4 Heisman Trophy winners to pick from, or you can go off the board and go somebody who doesn't have a bronze bust. Who is the best player in the Nick Saban era? So that's what's going to be for 3-2-1 tomorrow. The 3 biggest wins by non-Alabama teams, the 2 most important losses, and the 1 best player in the Saban era. That'll be tomorrow on the program. Now let's talk about fighting. Yeah, over the weekend, Cam Newton got himself into a fight. Cam Newton was jumped, is what it looked like, at his camp. And so that happens. That was unfortunate. That was terrible. Why would you fight Cam Newton? That sounds very, very dumb. He's 6'6", 250. He's retired, so he's probably not 280 anymore, but not anyone you want to trifle with. And so it made me think about, okay, are there any NFL quarterbacks that you would trifle with? Not really, but there are a few. And then it made me think, well, what about the Alabama guys? I have 4 Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, and Bryce Young. Are all 4 of them in the, I don't want to mess with you category? Or would you fight any of them? Look, here's a list of several guys, starting quarterbacks in the NFL that, I don't think would kill you in a fight. I think you might stand, the average Joe would stand a chance against. Now, you won't stand a chance against Josh Allen. You won't stand a chance against Justin Herbert. You won't stand a chance against Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. Superior athletes with superior size that the average Joe just cannot deal with. Maybe Zach Wilson. You can deal with Zach Wilson. You can get your boy Bailey Zappi. These are some quarterbacks I think if you found yourself in a tangle with, in a scrap, you would be able to walk out and tell the tale. Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Derek Carr were all on my quick list. Zach Wilson, Bailey Zappi, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Derek Carr. All right. Are there any Alabama guys, any of the 4 Alabama quarterbacks that you think, okay, you know what? If this guy looked at me the wrong way and I found myself in a fight with him, I'll feel okay? Look, the obvious, easy answer is skinny boy Mac Jones. But I don't think that's the right answer. I think the right answer is the rookie from last season, the Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young. And basically all due to his stature. Bryce is not a big guy. Mac's not a big guy either, but he's not little by any means. Bryce is right at 6 foot, right at 6 foot, 220, 210 pounds or so. I think the average Joe, if you found yourself in a fight with Bryce Young, would live to tell the tale. Why is Mac Jones on the list of quarterbacks I don't want to mess with? Because I think Mac Jones is a dirty SOB. In a fight, in a competitive situation, I think Mac Jones is taking the beer bottle off the bar and smashing your head over it, smashing you in the head with it. I think Mac Jones is the guy to give you the low blow if it is there to be had. And so, because of that, while he's not overly athletic, I think his competitive spirit is otherworldly, and that's probably what has driven him to this point in his career. And so, for that reason, the competitive spirit, I think, is Mac Jones' most elite trait as an athlete, as a professional quarterback. And because of that, that's not a guy I don't think you want to mess with. I think Mac Jones would embrace the fight aspect, embrace if we're here, I'm going to drag you into the 7 depths of hell. And Mac Jones would, you might find yourself with some hair ripped out. You're definitely getting a black eye. You probably got a bite mark somewhere on your body. I don't know if I would be messing with Mac Jones. And similarly, look, it's obvious you're not messing with Jalen Hurts, Mr. 600-pound squat, Mr. Tush Push. Nobody can stop me. So Jalen Hurts, superior athleticism. He was a high school state champion weightlifter. Nobody that I want to mess with. And Tua Tagovailoa might have made my list of quarterbacks I could fight 2 years ago. Last summer, Tua Tagovailoa takes judo lessons because he wants to learn how to fight. Well, he wants to learn how to fall, excuse me. I'm sure that learning how to fall wasn't the only part, the only lesson in those judo lessons. And Tua has thickened up. He's gotten a lot of muscle. He's got that dad bod muscle, and obviously a huge tattoo has shown that he is a tough son of a gun as well. I think Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Mac Jones are the 3 Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL that you don't want to fight, while Bryce Young might be somebody that you could tangle with. All right, so last thing for us is looking at the pods. Joe Lunardi released his newest oh my gosh, I just lost my track right there. Boom. Joe Lunardi just released his latest bracketology, and Alabama is still a number 3 overall seed, heading to Memphis. On Monday at Joe Gaither 6, we broke down on the Twitter machine the 8 Alabama losses, all coming to top 30 offenses in KenPom. So it made me think, okay, look, if Alabama wants to get back to the Sweet 16, which is probably about right, a good little mark, then you are going to have to defeat the 4 teams in your pod. Well, right now there are 5 teams in your pod because the 2 11 seeds are kind of projected in a play-in game. Here are the teams in the pod. Obviously, number 3 Alabama is paired up with number 14 seed High Point. And then on the other side, you have 6 seed Dayton, and they're going to take on the winner of 11 seed Seton Hall and 11 seed Virginia. So these 4 teams, High Point, Dayton, Seton Hall, and Virginia, are your potential matchups in the round of 64 and the round of 32. If you get through them, you're in the Sweet 16. How do you feel about these 4 teams? All right, High Point, look, people say, 14 seed, they can see KenPom, 113 team in KenPom, and you're like, oh, great, you're going to wax that team. It's going to be no big deal. A little bit deeper there, a little bit deeper look. High Point currently has the number 30 offense in the country. What did we just say 2 minutes ago? Oh, Alabama's lost 8 games to top 35 offenses in the nation? Oh my gosh, don't tell me that. The High Point with the number 30 overall offense. Does that put Alabama on upset alert right there in the first round? I'm going to say no, only because High Point on defense is 252nd in the country. You're going to have to slow down Alabama a little bit if you're going to outscore them with the number 30 overall offense. The number 252 defense in the country means that Alabama is getting out of the first round. Now, all of this is hypothetical. We're a couple of weeks away from March Madness getting rolling, and we'll do this when the brackets actually get released. But I'm actually concerned about the Dayton Flyers. The Dayton Flyers are currently the 6th seed in Alabama's little pod, Alabama's little Memphis region. Overall, 26th best team according to KenPom. They have the 20th best offense. Oh, that's better than High Point. That's in the top 35 range where Alabama has had trouble. And the Dayton Flyers have the 63rd best defense in the country. Is that enough to slow down the Alabama offense to let the 20th best offense, the Dayton Flyers, beat you? Do you know how upsetting, look, this season's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and there's a lot of great things to take away from the season. But if Alabama is eliminated in the round of 32 by the Dayton Flyers, who are coached by who? Avery Johnson? No. Anthony Bleeping Grant? Oh my God, that's 2 coaches ago. If Anthony Grant eliminates you in the round of 32, I want to say something really, really dramatic, but I don't have anything dramatic enough off the top of my head. Like that's a bad deal. That would result, in my opinion, in an underwhelming. That would be an underwhelming NCAA tournament to go out in the round of 32 to the Dayton Flyers, but Dayton has exactly what it would take to beat you. The top 35 offense and just enough defense. Number 63 in the KenPom rankings. All right, 11 Seton Hall and 11 Virginia. Now, Virginia is overall 65. They have the 188th best offense in the country. They're probably going to score 40 points against you. They're terrible on offense, but defensively, the number 9th offense in the country. So they easily have the best the best defense in this pod by far and away. Alabama's sitting there at 97, High Point at 252, Dayton at 63, and Seton Hall at 41. So Virginia has your best offense, but they have the worst defense in the pod at 188. I wouldn't be really worried if Seton Hall or Virginia ended up upsetting Dayton and you were able to get Seton Hall or Virginia in the round of 32. Obviously, Virginia has kind of the cachet, national championship cachet, but not nearly talented enough offensively to keep up with you. You look at these 4 teams and you look at the pod that Alabama is in, and you say, yes, Alabama should get to the Sweet 16. Alabama objectively is better than High Point, is better than Seton Hall, and is better than Virginia, and more talented than Dayton as well. But you got to lock in on the defensive side of the floor. You have to. I mean, you're not going to get locked in. You have to step it up 5%. You have to care a little bit. Locked in, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to get to the level of the Herb Jones level of the 2020 team that, fought for every possession. What were they, number 3 in the country in defense? You're not going to get that. Coach Oates today in the Coleman Coliseum media room basically saying, we've got to get it to where these guys play defense as part of who they are. He said that he thinks that they are going to play better defense tomorrow against the Ole Miss Rebels, but also chalked it up to embarrassment. He said, how could they not play? How could we not play better than we did on Saturday? The guys are embarrassed. We need them to not be reactionary to say, oh, I got beat on the last play. I got beat on the last game. I got beat in the last half. I'm going to step it up because I'm embarrassed. We got to get the guys believing in the defensive end, and really you don't have to get much out of them. The number 1 offense in the country, you just got to get a couple of daggum stops. A couple, not a whole lot. You got to stay in front of your man offensively, rebound the dang basketball, and don't give up open shots like you did on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun over there in Oxford tomorrow. We'll see if Latrell Wrightsell is available for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Coach Nate Oates today saying still day to day, a little bit concerning, but you do want to take all the time with head injuries and concussions. So tomorrow on the program, we're going to do 3-2-1. What are the 3 biggest non-Alabama wins, 3 biggest wins that helped the Alabama dynasty over the last 17 years? What are the 2 most important losses in the Nick Saban era? That from an Alabama perspective. And then who is the best player that Nick Saban has ever coached? That'll be tomorrow's 3-2-1. We'll also get you a little more further fired up for Alabama and Ole Miss on tomorrow's program. We'll start getting you ready for the rest of the weekend. And here, maybe we'll catch up with our guys up at the Combine. Joey Van Zimmeren of Mizzou Central. We'll see if he's available to jump onto the program to talk about what he's seeing in the Combine, the underwear Olympics, the pointless underwear Olympics that are really just there for the NFL to give you guys something to watch on TV. I'm a sucker. I'll watch it on TV, and we'll talk about it on the program right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You can follow the program at Joe Gaither 6 on all your social media machines. Subscribe, rate, and review at Joe Gaither 6 at the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. And we'll be back to talk about it all tomorrow right here on your favorite platform on BamaCentral. BamaCentral.com. What a dismount.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at JoeGaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.